Hey everybody, it's Eric Balance coming to you with the Resilient Minds podcast, where I feature beautiful entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and experts in their field, where they help us discover their X factor, their experience of life, only to discover how they were able to accomplish and find out their Y factor, their big why, their purpose in life. So join me as we get to discover the beauty of our minds and how can we really continue to go after the biggest and most wildest dreams while we continue to pursue and manifest our greatest intelligence that comes from the heart. Also, if you haven't, go check out the new alignment course that I've created at www.ericbalance.com/alignment, ALIGNMENT. See you on the show. Welcome, everybody, to the Resilient Minds podcast. I'm super grateful, very excited to sit today with Neven Paar. Is it Paar or Pair?
Par.
Amazing.
Yeah.
An amazing author who's teaching a lot about Kundalini. And I came across Neven. First of all, Neven, thanks for coming, brother.
Oh, yeah, anytime, bro. I'm great. Great. Yourself?
I'm grateful, man. Thank you for coming, man. I'm really excited to share some of your work with, the Resilient Minds community, with the people that are listening live and are coming back to the recording. I think that, the work that we both do is really built off of each other, and It really coincides with one another. But I really just would like from your words to share kind of your work, and what it is that you really are, contributing, because it's a contribution. Our lives are a contribution to our work, but it really is our passion. So I'd love from your just to share a little bit about the books and how important they are to you.
Sure. Well, the books are a byproduct of a very long spiritual journey that started in 2004 when I had a full spontaneous Kundalini awakening, which left me seeking for answers because I was going through tremendous dealing with my own darkness, which is when you have this full awakening, it faces you to do that. And in searching for ways to help myself heal, I came across an ancient order called the Order of the Golden Dawn, where I was exposed to ceremonial magic, which is essentially energy invocations, but particularly targeting the chakras, which can be broken down into the 5 elements. And so you're working with these energies of the 5 elements, and you're in a sense, well, not in a sense, you're literally working on your own chakras. And so this was such a potent practice for me that I just powered through the entire system, and in 5 years went through all of the outer order, and then went off on my own, and even led my own group for a little bit because I was such an expert at what I was doing. But my message at that moment became solidified in the sense that I knew that this is that most people in the world don't know about the power of ceremonial magic, and especially Kundalini awakened individuals. And there's a lot in the world. Actually, I didn't even realize until recently, until I started getting more popular in social media. I didn't even realize just how big of a community this is. And so, long story short, fast forward, 10 years after, or not 10 years, less than that, but I started writing, putting my knowledge down on paper, writing some articles for some newsletters and stuff. And then eventually just kind of discovered that this is what I want to pursue. So then I started to write on a full-time basis and just went at it, every day, no days off, no holidays off, just obsessed with this passion to write and to share. And so I wrote a whole sequence of material, whole body of work, one of which being focusing on this stuff I learned from the Golden Dawn, which includes Kabbalah, astrology, tarot, spiritual alchemy, hermeticism, all these Western esotericism teachings. And then I was also obviously sequencing my journey through the Kundalini, because there's a whole evolutionary process that occurs when you have this full awakening. And there's an entire optimization of this Kundalini circuit that's happening on the inside. And I had a one or two authors I was kind of not working with, but reading their stuff. But there has not been any real tangible material on the Kundalini where it gives you kind of a manual for what you're going through, in the sense to remove this fear of the unknown as you're going through this transformation process. And so
there's actually a lot of things that there's almost, and I find that this is very part of the organized philosophy. It's like nothing really gives that guidance, that step. It kind of tells you what you need to do rather than just assists you in a process of discovery. And I think that this is something very unique that you're explaining, because people are curious, right? Like, it's like I always say, when we're students, or like we're children, right, and we're willing to go out for vacation with our families, right, we get really excited about it. We're like,
the excitement is the key. That's
right?
the key.
That's the key, right?
That's the key to the whole process. Yeah,
exactly. So if we stay in this innocence, if we stay in this like philosophy of innocence, but then have some sort of knowledge base that gives us this like
a reference manual of this is what's going to happen next, and this is what you can expect. So get excited because this is amazing, and that's in a sense what I tried to bring, maybe unknowingly, but I was kind of the scientist and laboratory in one as I'm going through this process. And I reached some really some major milestones in this transformation process of like my consciousness expanding, where I can, now I have these siddhis or psychic powers that are just part of like this expanded consciousness that I'm embodying, 24/7. That it was an evolutionary thing. And I thought it was like something that needs to be documented, because it was such a powerful, one of the most powerful Kundalini awakening experiences that I've ever heard of, that I had. And it was, a result of this inadvertent tantric sex practice I was kind of doing. And I read about that stuff a lot. But then it was...
Sorry, did you just say it was a sexual practice as well?
Well, the way in which I had the awakening, completely like spontaneous, completely accidental. I didn't even know about the Kundalini. I was basically kind of studying this ancient Hermetic book, the Kybalion, working with these principles of creation that are essentially the manual to how we interact and interface with this reality around us. How how our minds work, in the sense of also projecting our vibrations into the world, how we create an image of what we want in other people so that they perceive us for what we want. It's essentially kind of law of attraction on steroids. I mean, the law of attraction is essentially just one aspect of these 7 principles of creation. And I was studying this stuff in depth and seeing how it's working in my own life. And then eventually...
And it's deeper, because because the reason I want to go back to that moment of like the sexual practice, because I think that there's a piece there that allows the grounded root of our I am, like, the essence to really come into like creation, and it aligns the seven energies. So my thought, my curiosity is like, through this Kundalini awakening, and I think that there's a lot of women and men that are both learning about this, especially through the sexual practice. And I think it's really important that as men that we discuss this in an open way, because
absolutely,
a lot of men are like, what's that, why is that possible? But really, like, I really through sexual practice, also, like, by ourselves or with a partner, it's a very beautiful expression of enlightenment as well. And so I think,
so sexual energy, in a sense, not in a sense, in its totality can be used, and it is used, and that's essentially how you awaken the Kundalini, is when you turn sexual energy inwards. Okay, naturally we want to achieve an orgasm through sex, so we're expelling this energy outwards. But when you channel that energy inwards through yogic practices or different types of meditation and stuff, then that energy, instead of expelling outwards, that's what triggers the Kundalini when it's sent into the right centers, which is essentially in your abdomen area, where you feel this euphoria of sexual excitement and ecstasy. And so I was kind of, to go back to how it triggered for me, because a lot of people are very interested in this. They always ask me about it. Well, as I'm practicing these Kundalini, these Kabbalion principles, I had realizations that we have a spiritual double inside of us, and it's present at all times. And then at the same time, we also have the power of belief, and we have the power to imagine and think whatever we want and experience it as real. So, being a young guy, I was 21, I was like, okay, let me put these theories to practice. So I imagined a beautiful woman, sexy, right? And I imagined her in my mind. I was all excited. I'm like, this is going to work. This is going to be amazing. And I imagined her. And next thing you know, just this vague image of her in my mind, because I was believing in what was happening in these principles and that this is going to be amazing. I then, because I held that image, and with the power of belief, I then projected essentially through the mind's eye portal, of course, not knowing what the mind's eye is or any of this stuff, and into this space where now I had this body double and this astral body, and I could see her, smell her, touch her, and everything else. She was as real as you and me. And then I started to have sex with her in my mind, and it was just mind-blowing, right? And something inside me told me, no matter what happens, keep this experience going, because this is so unique and amazing. Just keep it going. And I'm having sex with her in my mind, and next thing you know, I start having internal orgasms. And not just one. I've never had this before. Not just one. I had multiple, and they started coming in rushes, like waves, like. And eventually, it was like this locomotive woke up inside my body, in my abdomen area, and these rushes running up into my brain, just pure ecstasy. And next thing you know, I felt this golf ball sized ball of it, like an energy that formed at the bottom of my spine. And then it felt very uncomfortable, literally like a golf ball in my, butt and in my spine. That's the key, because this is where the Kundalini resides, is at the bottom of the spine in the coccyx region. And I awakened it. Of course, I didn't know any of this at the time. All I knew is keep having sex with this woman, because this feels amazing. And so I just kept going with the experience, and the ball of energy started rising up, and I could feel it at certain points along my spine. It came in, and it just blasted open, so like a rush of this energy just shooting through these these energy points along the spine, and it kept going. And eventually, I could hear it as this high vibration, like a jet engine. When you're sitting down on the plane upon takeoff, and it kept, like, as it's rising up, it kept increasing in power, and I just felt like this machine that got turned on, But it was that voice in the background that kept saying, "Don't worry about it. Keep going. This is amazing. Don't lose this. Don't lose this. Keep going." And so I did. And so then eventually, this energy just went inside my brain. And when it went inside my brain, I just see like light, like forming, like inside my brain. So I'm still like having sex with this woman in my head, but now there's light everywhere, kind of permeating it. And then the energy shot through the donut-sized shape of the mind's eye. It shot through it and just expanded it like that. And then it shot up, into on the top of my head, in my crown. And the next part was like the trippiest thing that ever happened in my life, where it was like this liquid fire that poured over my body, kind of like that scene in Neo when like that liquid mercury pours over him from the top down. And it poured over my body entirely. And I felt like I'm being electrocuted, literally like mild electrocution. I felt like that's what it was like. And I said, at that point, it was like, okay, alert, 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 something crazy's going on. So I opened my eyes. I ended the kind of the inadvertent tantric sex practice I was doing. And I looked at my hands, and they were pure golden light, no imperfections, no nothing. no hairs on my hand. I'm just looking at my hand like this with my physical eyes. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh, whoa. And like, it just enveloped my whole body, just pure light. And I'm looking and I look around and I saw the entire room that I was in as a complete hologram, a pure hologram. And I was in that space for about 20, no, not 20, about 10, 15 seconds. I mean, I was there and I'm with my eyes open, my physical eyes. And I'm looking and the energy was still so powerful and just this incredible vibration. And now I start to see light peering in from top of my head. And this light just starts coming in like this. And then the energy was so powerful, it shoots me back down onto the bed. All right, not in like an uncomfortable, but I'm like, okay, I got to just chill and just go with this. And then at that point, I feel myself being sucked out of my body. And at that point, I'm like, okay, you're about to die. And so my ego kicks in. Yeah.
Just
starts, yeah. At that point, the ego was like, I guess part of the process was keeping the ego in check. That's why I said, just keep going with it, keeping the ego in check so that my soul must have just known, okay, this is what's happening. This is what we're doing. You don't know about it consciously, but we're doing this. But then in the end, the ego was like, you're about to die.
It's interesting how the ego shows up like very close to the end and it all of a sudden tells you that you're dying.
Well, it's the first time I was,
out of pure bliss, right? Out of pure bliss, all of a sudden the ego is like, hold on a second, I'm dying.
Well, because the bliss is not part of the ego. It's the
like
soul.
Boom. It's like this. And because like I did it like when we've died multiple times throughout the course of our experiences here in this physical world, but in this experience of my own, I did it the first time that I died was inside of like maybe my awakening, my death, my rebirth, whatever. It was inside of Temazcal in Ecuador, and I was doing breath work and I didn't realize, I went completely unconscious, but I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what it was. I had no idea what it was.
Well, it's completely unknown. Yeah. The experience, you can read about it. And this is what I tell people all the time when they ask about the Kundalini. You can read 50 books. Until it's happened to you, you don't know what's happening. It's such a radical experience. And just the awakening process alone is such a radical, incredible experience. You're literally like Dr. Manhattan from The Watchmen, just being, completely changed from the inside. Like you're a modern day superhero. Like this is what I teach people. I'm like, there's a Kundalini trigger inside of your body that can turn you from a regular human into a modern day superhero. Now you're not going to shoot, you're not going to be Iron Man and have these, but you will have some crazy powers. Like you in the astral world, you will be able to do everything Jesus did. You'll be able to fly like Superman. You'll be able to experience anything and everything you want, visit incredible lands on different planets and different solar systems, talk to extraterrestrials. I mean, this is all very real, but it takes that expansion of consciousness and that activation of that light body, which is what optimizes our Merkaba to be able to travel through consciousness in these different planes, and to, have all these incredible experiences, and so the Kundalini awakening by itself is really just the beginning part of that. But there is that kind of darkness aspect, because what happens is when the light, it bridges the conscious and subconscious minds. And now everything that's in your subconscious mind, all the darkness, the stuff you hide from, the traumas, whatever, all of that stuff now comes to the forefront and it's real. And it's as real as you and me. The voices, all of your own inner demons, they're talking to you like they're right here in the room with you. And it's a terrifying experience.
It's like a conversation. And I think that this is where people, it's like you don't have to go out to change the world. You actually just have to go inside. And this
it's all there, yeah.
The internal path that so many people are actually unaware that they can ultimately cultivate. And that's how we can create our magical dreams. And so you talked about light body and Merkaba. So before we continue, I really think that for anybody that doesn't know or isn't aware, first of all, let's get into the Merkaba. Can you explain the important, because I think this is a really important term.
It's a
that
very popular topic. Whenever I
uh,
do anything on the Merkaba, people like, oh, give us more, give us more.
you need I think that people that are listening to the word, it's a very important part of our awakening process. Do you mind sharing the importance
Sure.
of it, and what exactly it is?
Well, Merkaba is a geometric depiction of your optimized toroidal energy field. And so it's these two counter-rotating um, tetrahedrons, essentially, and they're counter-rotating. And when they rotate at an incredible speed, they create a sphere. And because your soul is spherical, your soul now can embody that sphere and literally exit out of your body in different dimensions of space and time through consciousness. So you're in your body localized, you're always localized in your body, but through consciousness and through exiting out of your crown, you now go into, number one, the lucid dream world, right? Which is where most of these experiences happen. And it happens when your Merkaba is optimized, but also happens when it's not necessarily fully optimized, but you just get these rushes and it makes this Merkaba spin and creates the spherical shape that you can now exit and project out of your body.
Same spherical shape as our planets, by the way.
It's all, everything is spherical. That's the perfect shape. It's as the planets, it's as the soul, according to ancient teachings, the soul is spherical in shape, and so that it can embody. And so this Merkaba is literally the vehicle for the soul, because it's all about the soul having experiences, essentially, not the ego. The ego is tied to the body, it's in the body, and so when you're having an out-of-body experience, you always feel like I'm gonna die, but that's the ego saying that, because that is the body. So you're the ego, you're the soul, you're consciousness, you're all those things. You kind of choose your experience, choose who you want to listen to. But this Kundalini awakening process is meant to make you completely align with your soul. So, and essentially your soul leaves your body. Like, I feel like ever since I had the initial awakening in 2004, my soul is out of my body. And so that comes with a whole range of experiences. Number one, you're always present and in the moment. Like, you don't have a choice. Like, sometimes I have hard time with memory and things, because my soul's like, don't worry, you don't need to know that. You don't need to think about it. That's your ego. Just chill. So you're present, you're in the moment, you're in this field of pure potential, which is where you can manifest your dreams and goals. I mean, without that, you can't manifest these things. It's not possible if you're living in the past or worrying about the future too much. And that's an egoic thing, so you're essentially above duality. And so, but one of the perks would be this awakening of this, of your toroidal energy field, this full activation, which is the activation, the optimization of the Merkaba. And then now you can travel in these inner realms, these inner cosmic planes that I describe, in my books. And each of these cosmic planes, number one, we're a microcosm of the macrocosm. So we're a reflection of our solar system. Your sun is the center, you are the sun. Now these planets are like different layers, like layers of an onion, and that comprises your aura, your egg, your energy egg. And now you can use the Merkaba to travel in these inner planes, and then these divine planes, which are above your head, and these like transpersonal chakras that I describe in my book, in Serpent Rising. Then you can go and you can experience extraterrestrials. You can experience visiting these lands and things which are not on this planet. You can visit different solar systems, in whether it's this galaxy or not. I mean, it's all theoretical, where you're actually going, but you're going to experience some incredible, mind-blowing stuff, and your soul will experience it like it's real. And that's the best part, because what is the experience of life? Essentially, it's just you experiencing things as real. Right now, this year is real. But if I go inwards into my consciousness, I can now experience things through consciousness and these different dimensions of space and time. And that's one of the biggest perks of the Kundalini awakening process, when you have that full awakening to the crown. Obviously, the optimization of the chakras. So you have all these incredible powers now that you can use to manifest the life that you want. That's really what it comes down to. It's about you manifesting that dream life, being that dream person that you thought you could be. Now you're able to do that. You're in the moment. You have these energies at your disposal. And then at night, you also have the perk of lucid dreaming and just having incredible experiences.
It's like a conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And with this light body now, so this brings us to the light body. So once you're able to really tap into this essence where you're having this understanding that you are in the light body, tell us about the importance of, once you're in this new realm and this new ability to access different dimensions, because I think, there's this the bodhisattvas, right? The importance of like really being able to understand what that means. I think at a deep level, we carry wisdom, but also have compassion, and then as a result, we can fly between all these different dimensions. And I do feel that once you tap into the light body, you become like, it's not like only a few people can be the bodhisattvas, right? I think that we can all be like, step into that level of
it's in every single person, the potential to do this.
Exactly.
I think one thing that's restricted humanity is religion, because religion teaches you to look outside of yourself for salvation instead of going inwards, which is what the original teachers, the adepts, the Jesus Christs of the of the religious world, that's what they always said. But religion has made itself kind of the intermediary, and instead of looking inwards for answers, you look outwards. It's a form of control. We can get into that another time, but sadly, it's created a society where people they forgot this ancient teaching. They forgot like where spirituality comes from. It comes from going inwards. Even the Kundalini awakening process, going inwards, experiencing the light body. You have to do that inwards. Anything to do with consciousness and consciousness expansion, it all has to do with going inwards and having these experiences, because your soul is inwards, it's inside. And so your soul can now experience these things, and you feel them with your senses, like the light body has its own senses. It can smell, taste, hear things, and essentially when you have like expanded consciousness, that's your light body being activated, where I can now hear something that's happening a mile away, because it makes an impression on my consciousness, because I'm not in my body. So I am pure consciousness, and I can now experience this world around us, and I can hear things. I'm not limited to the five senses of the body. And I do that through the sixth sense, the mind's eye, which is the portal into these inner realms. Anything inner and inward, these inner cosmic planes, you go through your mind's eye. And so you're literally stepping through your mind's eye with your body of light, going inwards and having these incredible experiences. But you can't prove it, right? People always say, prove it, prove. How can I prove that? I can't prove consciousness. I can't prove energy. I can't prove that I have these abilities. I can write about it and it'll make sense to people and speak about it, but I can't prove. I can't like levitate something or something, I wish, that'd be awesome. But no, that's this dimension has its own rules and regulations. And when you awaken the body of light, you now step into other dimensions that have their own rules. And there's a lot less rules. There's no density, number one. In the light astral world, there's no density. Everything is etheric, essentially. And so you're able to do things that you would be able to do if you didn't have density in this world, which is number one, fly, project through walls, walk on water, literally everything that Jesus Christ did, except for raising the dead. You can do in the astral world, in the lucid dream world, and experience it as real, and wake up, and feel like, I just experienced. It's kind of like the movie Inception. I mean, that part's very accurate, where you can experience a whole lifetime of events, because there's no time, right? The time is very diluted there. So you can experience a whole lifetime of events in just like, 8 hours. You wake up, you're like, whoa, I just had a different lifetime and I experienced it. You have memories, you remember it. And then you just, okay, now I'm a human again. Now I'm just back to my regular human life, and the ego is what takes over, right? The ego is what keeps these experiences down. So the more you can silence the ego, the more you can go inwards to have these experiences. And the Kundalini awakening activates these 72,000 nadis spoken about in the yogic scriptures. And these 72,000 nadis are like branches, and the central trunk would be the spine, and then they're branches, and have to do also with the nervous system. They correspond in some ways, and you have your branches where these major chakras are, but that's essentially an activation of your body of light. And the Kundalini energy afterwards, after you have like this full awakening, it now uses pranic energy. So prana, so you get prana from the air, from the, you know, from the sun, from sunlight. You get it from food, obviously, you get it from water. And so it uses pranic energy sublimated with sexual energy, because now sex has a whole different role in your life. Sexual energy has a whole different role, which is to fuel this Kundalini system, the circuit that I talk about, which is essentially you just even opening up more powers of this body of light and opening yourself up to more experiences, you know. But like I said, you know, it's not something you can't prove that. You're always in your body. You're always this guy and you're this light body, you know, and you know, life is essentially choosing between the two.
I think that there's pieces of being able to prove it, and I think that those pieces show up in like telepathy with like,
oh yeah, there you can prove it, of course. Yeah,
having abilities to communicate with the right mirrors, for example. I think that, you know, things will show up, like you will believe or feel something and then all of a sudden it will happen, you know.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
there's a lot of things that, as for anybody that's listening, it really is about like identifying the most thing about understanding yourself. Once you start to understand yourself and you start to feel things, you start to recognize that your body is telling you something, and then all of a sudden it shows up in physical space.
Well, as above, so below, right? Yeah,
exactly. So
you're open on this inner realm. Yeah,
exactly. So it starts showing you, and I think this is something that people oftentimes feel like they need to go outside of themselves to find who they truly are.
Yeah.
And you know, this identity part of ourselves is not external. It's really internal, as you mentioned, is part of the soul process. So with individuals going inside, you know, and you know how I talk the path of the internal is really what's going to identify the external world. So with people doing this more, because I think this is what organized religion, you know, and you know, I always say, you know, I believe in all of them. I believe in all religions.
Sure,
I believe
parts. They all have parts of the truth. Yeah, yeah.
Because they're all really saying the same identical thing. The only thing that I don't believe is that we need to go outside of ourselves. That I believe that all of those teachings are inside. And so
absolutely, yeah.
What do we, you know, even like you think of the mosques, the churches, the thing, it's the golden mean, right? And the golden mean is part of the temple of the human body, the light body, right?
Yeah.
And so as we go inside, Neven, I think it would be beautiful for us to discuss, like, and help anyone that is really listening to say, okay, if I have this capability, right, whether I'm Hindu, Muslim, Catholic, Jewish, how can I identify these scriptures and these, you know, because I know, you know, many people haven't read the Quran or haven't read the Bible, haven't read the Torah. They haven't done, you know, they haven't paid attention to the Kundalini, but they do decide that based off of their belief systems of their mother or father,
they side with it.
They decide that, hey, this is the way that I'm going to continue living my life because I don't know. So with their structure, because I believe that structure was what was necessary at the time, you know, each different religion is doing the best they can in their certain understanding. So with anybody here that's listening, and anybody here that's paying attention, and anybody that here that's really, we are totally about helping you identify with your specific religion that you can still go inside.
Absolutely. You can still be a religious person. Just what I like to say, and the key to reading all scripture, because all scripture is based on older things, okay? Ancient civilizations. The key is, you never take it literally. People make this mistake. They read the Bible literally. No, it is not literal. It is metaphoric, okay? The way in which the ancients always taught And this is how the occult, within the occult, everything is taught. You learn through symbol, metaphor, allegory, and number. So everything in all these scriptures and what all these ancient sages, the Muhammad, the Buddha, and Jesus Christ especially, I love Jesus Christ because there's so much in the Bible, but not when it's taken literally. So what people need to do, the teachings are there, right? They're like, they're right there. You're looking at them, but there's two ways you can interpret it. One is you can interpret it metaphorically and be like, okay, so this stands for this. This is, or you take it literally. If you take it literally, you failed. You failed because you will not, the things that are talked about in there from literal interpretation, they will never come true the way that, they're being spoken about. And the way in which these ancient sages, and I refer to Jesus as a sage because that's what he was. He was a man that became godlike. He had a Kundalini awakening, and then he wanted to teach others of this. And the ways that in which these things are, he knew to create these veils. And the veils are from that would separate the people who are only using these teachings for like material profit and gain and people who are actually looking for spiritual ascension. So the veil would be, I'm going to give you a truth, but I'm going to put it in an allegorical, metaphorical way. And then you, given knowledge, because we all have to research and learn about this stuff, given whatever knowledge you have, you apply that, and now you read into it metaphorically, and you will come to the deeper understanding of what I'm trying to do. Now, if you don't have any of that, you're not a real seeker, you're not a real researcher, you just want to take these teachings, and so you can, try to manipulate and control people, which is essentially what religion does. Then you say, well, I'm just going to take it literally because I don't know any better, right? And so that's the distinction, is that people who study scripture through literal means will never come to the deeper understanding of who they are and what these scriptures really talk about. But the ones that understand these formulas in which these sages communicated these inner truths, they're going to find everything that they need. So the Bible is, it's the manual to so many things about life, but absolutely not in the way that it's being interpreted and taught. Like the book of Revelation has nothing to do with the second coming of the Christ and Jesus coming down from heavens and surrounded by angels with trumpets. That's fairy tale stuff. If you believe that, you may as well believe in the Easter Bunny and Santa Claus. I mean, that is a metaphor for the mass Kundalini awakening of mankind. That's how he
going
knew.
inside.
Going inside. He knew the time would come when people would start to share information as we are now. We have free information sharing through the internet. I can get any answer I want in a split second by Googling, YouTubing it. And he knew also, because everything's also related to astrological cycles. That's one thing these ancient sages all have in common. They've all studied astrology, the movement of the planets, the around the sun and everything else, because things in life happen in cycles. And so Jesus knew, and the apostles knew that, with his death and everything else, that there would be a second coming of the Christ, not Christ and him living as a living person, but Christ consciousness, because that's what he represented. He was the consciousness of compassion, love, just, goodness, the light, the truth. I mean, everything's in these teachings. I'm the light, the truth, and the way. No one comes to the Father but through me. And I'm not Christian in any way, but these teachings are beautiful and jam-packed. But people are taking it literally. And then they're going around and lying to one another and saying, oh, well, I'm still aligned with Jesus because I prayed to him at night. No, it doesn't work like that. Align with the principles in life, build the virtues, don't lie, be a truthful person, speak the light, share love, compassion with everyone else, and then you will embody the Christ consciousness. But there's a shortcut, and the shortcut to getting to that state is this Kundalini awakening process. And so, Jesus knew the time will come when humans must optimize that which was given to them, which is the awakening of this Kundalini energy, and for them to become, or all of us to become, as he was, a being of light. He was the light. He was the sun. The 12 apostles are the 12 zodiac. It was a solar mythology. Okay. And it's, whether Jesus even existed, we can debate that because it's based on older mythologies of Mithras and Osiris. And, all these ancient religions have a life, death, resurrection mythology, which is what Jesus represented. And that essentially represents the life, death, and resurrection of the sun. right now is winter. This is death. And then in winter solstice, which is consequently when Jesus was born, right around there, oh, what a coincidence, that's then the beginning of the rising of the sun. Jesus was the sun. He was represented with a halo around his head and a heart of gold, and just, and all of these are qualities of the sun. We are the sun. We're beings of light that come from the sun.
Exactly.
But of course, the only way to find all of this stuff is to go from the conscious self through the subconscious self and into the superconscious self. And to do that, you have to go inwards. And that's the absolute key. And there's, and a Kundalini awakening process, like I said, is like a shortcut to get people there, right? It's like a safety switch that our creator left inside of us. It's like, okay, well, if everything else fails, I can just activate this and bring you where I want you to be if you can't do it yourself.
This is something I think I want everybody to understand. People talk about medicine and they talk about and don't get me wrong, like with the medicines, all of these things are super important, right? Like they're super part of ability to identify and realize that, our creator has given us these tools to activate our awareness from within, like with the medicines, like spending time with masters in Brazil and Ecuador, and really learning about the importance of ayahuasca and
Okay. Mm-hmm.
and all these things. These are tools to help you identify the pieces that can still give you the activation of the Kundalini.
Yes.
The Kundalini is inside of you because this is who you are. So I really want to help people, help them understand the path of medicine, right? The path of medicine is a guide. It's a guide to help you understand what's already inside of you, right?
This helps you optimize your potential. Yeah.
Thank you. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that there, you don't need to take medicine every day. You are the medicine, right? As an individual.
And consequently, the medicine all is from the earth, right? What a coincidence. Ayahuasca, cannabis, right? Most popular drug, recreational drug, not really a drug, but whatever, on the planet. But, if you look at the leaf of the cannabis plant, you got the seven points, right? The 7 parts of the plant, 7 planets, right? They're completely solar. And, the symbolism is always there in the things in this world. But again, we have to read them symbolically, and so, you have a lot of people on planet Earth smoking cannabis, right? And a lot of them nowadays, especially, one thing that's a trend, I wouldn't call it a trend, but it's happening a lot. Like, let's say on my TikTok channel, I get a tremendous amount of people talking about DMT and ayahuasca. Now, I've never done either. Okay. So but I am familiar with obviously the effects and everything, and the effects in a sense mirror a spiritual awakening process. And they're also very often they end up triggering the awakening of the Kundalini, because this energy wants to awaken within you. So these plants are, again, they're in a sense like a third wheel, kind of like not a crutch, but an activation that can help you put yourself into that mind state where this Kundalini energy can awaken inside of you. I
always say this is important, bro, because the part of what you're saying right now with this activation process, it's the piece that helps people see. You talked about the mind's eye, or the mind, being able to see.
Yes, right? It fully awakens the mind's eye. Yes.
Then allowing the responsibility is to keep looking, keep listening, keep seeing, because it's not, if once you're open and once you see and once you can hear, then it becomes important to identify and say, okay, from here on out, I'm going to continue living in that soul space. And this is, I think, where the Kundalini, the activation, continuing the practices is very important. So now I really want to turn that dial and say, hey, how can people amplify their Kundalini practice to make sure that it's a regular discovery of their internal process that can guide their gift, their internal journey, to make sure that they're regularly stepping into this
Yeah,
responsibility.
absolutely.
Because we all have it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is why in both of my books I give spiritual healing practices, spiritual modalities. This is the key, right? You gotta have something that you're working on. It's like if you want to be a good basketball player, you're not going to be Michael Jordan unless you're out there grinding every day, shooting those hoops, doing the layups, doing the drills. That's the same thing with spirituality. You're building a muscle. And so it's not going to just get built by itself, or you have one experience and now you're enlightened. It doesn't work like that. It's a process of the awakening experience is just the beginning. It's the beginning. And then you need to find a spiritual modality, spiritual technology or healing modality that works. And then you apply it and you use it every day consistently, because then you're learning to shift from your consciousness from the ego self to the soul, which then allows the infusion of the spirit, the descent of the spirit. And now you've spiritualized the ego, and now you have, spiritualized the soul, and now you're an embodiment of these three higher chakras, which are the spirit chakras, which is at the end of the day, it's all about becoming spiritual, And so in my books, number one, in my first book, I have the ceremonial magic practice, which is, like I said, an invocation of working with the elements, earth, air, fire, water, spirit, and then also beyond that, working with the seven ancient planets, and then working with the zodiac, the zodiacal energies, because essentially we are a microcosm of the macrocosm. We're a reflection of the solar system, and we have to learn to integrate all of the powers of the solar system, which are represented alchemically by these powers of the planets and the stars surrounding them. And then we can find that we can reach the totality of our spiritual self. We can become like Jesus, essentially, become the Buddha, become an embodiment of that type of energy, the Christ consciousness. So, in my first book, I have ceremonial magic. The whole book, that's the main practice. That's what I used, and that's what I found by far the most potent. But then in my second book, I gave people more options. I said, okay, so there's other things, crystals, gemstones, tatwas, working with tatwas, tuning forks. So these are some of the more recent, well, crystals are older, but tuning forks, a more recent spiritual modality. And then I give people the keys of how they can work with that, aromatherapy. I have that included as well. And then obviously yoga. So I have so my books are broken down. My first book, you have Western mysteries, Kabbalah, magic, alchemy, hermeticism, tarot, astrology. And then you have the Eastern mysteries. And now the Eastern, when we go to the East, we're essentially looking at yogic practices. So the pranayama, mudra, mantra, meditation, these are all aspects of that. And essentially pranayama, which is breath work. This is essentially how people are waking up the Kundalini in today's day and age, is through breath work. But you can't have breath work without meditation. It's like milk without cookies. You want both, because that's what works. And so I have a combination of all these different practices. And essentially, it's a whole course on yoga in my second book. And it works side by side with, obviously, I talk about the Kundalini in my second book. That's primary. I'm essentially describing the human energy system from an energetic perspective of the chakras and minor chakras, transpersonal chakras, but also through human anatomy, right? Because how is human anatomy connected to that? What is it within us that awakens and brings us to become spiritual and have higher sense of consciousness? And it's an awakening in the center of your brain, of this third ventricle, the pineal, pituitary glands, the hypothalamus, the thalamus, optimizing this center area of your brain, because that's essentially where you're experiencing on a physical level higher levels of consciousness, or lower levels if you haven't optimized it. And so, I'm essentially kind of giving the keys, and I, structured both books in a sense to give everybody a little bit of something, like here, if you're into this, you're into the magic, this book's for you. You're into yoga, well, this is for you. But the thing that combines both of them and all my work, and obviously I have more work and stuff I'm working on, is the Kundalini. That's my mission and my goal is to inform people about the Kundalini trigger in their body, because most people don't know about it. Because, first thing, you got to know where to look. You got to know what it is. So now I'll give you a science of it so you can understand it logically. Then when you understand it logically, you can connect emotionally to what you're trying to achieve, create the desire, the longing to have this experience. Because without those two things, you can just hope to have it, but you need a structure a foundation whereby you can, have this Kundalini awakening. So I'm an emissary of the Kundalini. That's my role. I'm here to make superheroes. This is what I always say. I'm here to give people the keys, the ascension teachings that I've learned and experienced, and now I've given them to the public, and so that they can have this experience that I had, and that they can essentially bring on the golden age, because we're entering into the golden age. The age of Aquarius is the golden age, the spiritual age, but we're at a precipice right now where there's a lot of darkness in society, and all these people are waking up. And it's everybody waking up, and more people, that's going to allow us all to come together and crush the darkness once and for all, and then we're going to have this golden age. And in this golden age, everybody's Kundalini awakened. That's my belief. And according to what I've read from ancient scriptures, going back to, the Egyptians, Sumerians, the Hindus, like old stuff, pre-Christianity era. And so, because all of my teachings, essentially, I like to look at what the olden guys did, the ancient guys. They had the keys. And then eventually we lost the keys. We diluted their work. We made it literal, the understanding of the spiritual. We forgot. Graham Hancock says we're a species living with amnesia. I agree. I couldn't have said it better myself. We live with amnesia about who we are. We have the technology. It's in the ancient traditions, civilizations. And a lot of it is resurfacing now, especially the Egyptians. I mean, these guys had everything, but it was put in their temples. It was put into their sculptures, all the answers, and it was cryptic. It's meant to be interpreted through symbol, number, allegory, metaphor, not literally. And now we're waking up to that. And I think that in society right now, there's a synchronization of all these different things coming together. But essentially, the purpose and end goal is the same, which is the mass awakening of humanity, mass spiritual awakening of humanity. And that means the awakening of the Kundalini, because that is the awakening trigger. It's the ascension trigger. And
I always said this piece is this trigger is the one that allows us to identify that our dreams, or like this far off distance of making heaven, thinking that it's outside of us, it's actually the one that's within us. And if you find heaven inside of your heart, you can actually create it here. So there doesn't have to be a separation between heaven and earth.
Absolutely not. That's something the church created. Hell being this horrible fiery place in the earth, and heaven being up in the clouds. It's all metaphoric. It's all in here. Heaven and hell, it's all in here. Jesus said the kingdom of heaven is within you, right? We're all kings and queens of that kingdom. You're a king of yours, I'm a king of mine, and then we come together as kings and slap hands and say, let's go make more kings and queens, because that's what it's about.
Playing this playground.
Yeah, but this earth is, this reality is just a manifestation, projection of what the reality that we as a society have created within us. So we created this dichotomy of heaven and hell, but the more that we side with heaven, and we only do that by awakening spiritually, the more that we realize, wait a second, the trees, it's here. Like, my reality after the Kundalini awakening is substantially different, where I see light in everything. I look at a tree and it's moving in a rhythmic fashion. It's got this whole like velvety kind of like feel. It's a hologram. We live in a hologram. I've seen the hologram once. I've seen it one more time after. We live in it, and it's our job to optimize our experience of the hologram. Are we going to live and create a heaven here and see the hologram and enjoy it? Because this is a beautiful game, and one day when you die, your soul leaves your body, goes back into the sun and projects somewhere else. I believe that the lessons on this planet are to optimize the human energy system, and to do that, you have to awaken the Kundalini, optimize the chakras, optimize the Merkaba, the toroidal energy field. And then when you die, you've learned the lessons of this planet, and you can project into the sun, and then project through the white light into another sun, in another solar system, whether in this galaxy or not, and experience life there. And right now we're at that precipice where, you know, people like me are coming together and we're just kind of saying, hey, let's optimize this life here. You know, we don't need any more reason to have to come back here. Let's optimize it in this lifetime. And so that when we come back, you know, so when we reincarnate, our soul reincarnates, we're going to reincarnate somewhere else. And then, because it's all about soul progression. Right now, we have the lessons of this dimension, and we're learning to expand our soul and embody those lessons. And then we die, and then we go somewhere else and have a whole different set of lessons that I can't even talk about because nobody knows. We can't bring that knowledge from there to here, but we can know what this is all about, you know, and awakening the Kundalini and creating a kingdom of heaven within like this planet, like in our hearts, is essentially what it's all about, you know. And that our work is great, but our work right now it's exciting because right now is when it's happening. Right now is when it's happening.
This is, I think, presence. You see, this is a piece of it. The presence, the importance of really identifying that it is now, it is here, it is in these moments of like where we're speaking into existence, our reality, and we're cultivating a new era by us just having a conversation with each other. And to anybody that's listening, by being present, you're also allowing your time, your energy. Pay attention and listen to what's happening around you. Pay attention and listening to, as you're listening to the words and what you're feeling inside, what's showing up around you, and things will start to make sense because it's all connected in a way that allows you to actually create your external world rather than think that it's something separate from you.
Absolutely, yeah. And we're also inducing other people through speaking. We're inducing them with our vibration, our higher sense of consciousness, so that they can embody that vibration, even if it's for the moment that they're listening, which will then give them the inspiration to create that within themselves. You know, that's essentially what the point of all inspirational speaking is, inspiring others. That's what our jobs are. Like if you had to look at the very base level, what are we trying to achieve? We're trying to inspire people, because you can lead a horse by the water, but you can't make him drink it, but you can lead him there, you know. And we're trying to lead people to their own water, their own sea of consciousness, so that they get a taste of it. And then they say, oh, I want more. I want more. Why am I focusing on just, you know, expanding wealth and doing all these things for my ego? If I focus on this, I'll be happier. Because at the end of the day, it's like Joseph Campbell says, it's one of the first books I ever read, The Power of Myth. Purpose of life is not seeking for like some understanding of reality. It's essentially to be happy. So that's where it starts. You got to seek that inner happiness, you know. And if we can associate our happiness with becoming spiritual, then we're going to seek that no matter what. But if we are misled and we associate that with just accruing wealth, we won't be happy, because we just made the ego satisfied. But the ego is just one part of us, and it's not the most important part. It's about soul fulfillment. Yeah, there's no fulfillment. It's fun, it's transitory, and then it leaves you empty, you know. And this is why everybody in the end turns to spiritual teachings and spiritual and soul progression, because they want to be happy. Because the happiness really is that vibration of that light, that fifth dimensional energy of light and love. And we're a part of that, like we're attuned to that, but we need to focus our consciousness into that, so we can draw the energy and then let it expand outwards and then fill up our chakras with the light. And then that's essentially what starts the process of Kundalini awakening. You know, you can try all these methods and things, and that's great. But if you fill yourself with love and light, that's going to awaken your Kundalini faster than some yogic practice. Okay, that's a fact, you know. And that's why most people nowadays who have a Kundalini awakening, they did it spontaneously without any prior knowledge of things. They just were seeking happiness. They wanted to be happy. They tried, you know, cannabis. They smoked the joint because they wanted to feel elated and happy. And all of a sudden, they had an awakening. And now it starts this whole process, you know. So we're looking for that happiness. That's it, really. You know, I always say all the teachings, they're all very basic. And at a fundamental level, it starts with wanting to be happy and fulfilled. And that's what then inspires you and creates passion to learn, because right now, especially, the information is out there. It's available, through the work of people like yourself, the work of people like me, go on the internet and you can find all these amazing teachings. But for you to actually integrate it, you got to be excited about it.
Absolutely. And I think this is it. Is like I read something yesterday. Actually, Gary Vee wrote it. He said, skills are cheap, but passion is priceless.
Oh, it's all about the passion, bro. You know this
Yeah.
better than anybody.
Yeah.
It's all about the passion and the excitement. This is everything.
Yeah.
This is why I can look at somebody, and whatever field they're in, I'll look at them and I'm not going to evaluate their skill set. That's easy. You can build skills. Talent comes with some passion, but you build on it with hard work. But passion and excitement and just the desire to be the best in your field and be the best at it, that you can't teach. That's in your soul, and that's something that you either have it or you don't. Because essentially, when you have it, the rest of the process is just you realize. And you're going to stick to it because it's your passion. It's what drives you every day, to be the best at what you do. And, and it's all about passion. You said it perfectly. That's it.
Bless you, brother. I honestly really appreciate your time. First of all, like just all your insights, all of your journey, and the beauty that you're giving to the world. I think it's very important. And if anybody really wants to connect with you, find out more about what you're up to, or get your books, where can they reach out to connect with you best?
Well, my main social media platform, let's say social media. So my main platform is Instagram. So it's my page is at Winged Shoes Publishing. So Winged Shoes Publishing. And then also have a TikTok as well, also at Winged Shoes Publishing. So Winged Shoes Publishing is my publishing company. And for the two books, let me just bring them over.
Please.
The two books that I have are The Mages, Kundalini, and the Golden Dawn. And right now it's available in color as well as
Amazing.
black and white. And anyways.
Yeah.
And then my second book this is the really popular one that's blowing up the Kundalini community and the spiritual community, and just the rave about this book has been insane. And this book also is just jam-packed. There's 170 images, which right now are all in color. And we have everything that relates to the human energy system and everything else that's relating to the Kundalini awakening and the expansion of the chakras and the optimization of this Merkaba toroidal energy field and everything else. And these two books are my children, what I've given to the world. And I continue to write, and I'm very, very inspired to just keep going. And it's been incredible seeing how people have received my books. It's just been an absolute honor. And, I do my best to answer everybody on a daily basis, because so many Kundalini awakened people, bro. Like, I had no idea. And all of them are going through what I went through. And so now I've given them a manual to deal with what they're going through. And, essentially my mission has been to inform people of the Kundalini, but also to put these books into the people's hands, because in my experience, whatever kind of things they're going through and hardships, once they get the books, I usually don't hear from people again, because they get all the answers they need, and especially this second book.
This is the ultimate service, is being able to give the keys to the kingdom or the queendom to everyone else, so that they can discover now their own path and have that direct connection, the direct path. Because this is the ultimate freedom, is when you can identify that the direct path is actually yours. Then you don't have to, you just learn. And then you can pay attention to the mirrors, listen to the teachings, and just have the blessed journey of knowing from within, right?
Absolutely.
Bro, if you know, I know we talk a lot about the separation and the veil of life and death being so close and so instant, and the veil actually being, illusion. But if you had 3 days left in your body, what would you do?
3 days left in my body, like I'm gonna pass on to the other, just die in 3 days. What would I do? I would go to I love traveling to ancient sites. They're powerhouses of energy and spirituality. And I've traveled all over the world, and I would just go hit up a couple of more of those. That's what I would do. I'd go to Easter Island or something, or I'd go to India. I haven't been to India yet. Or I'd go back to Egypt. I mean, Egypt is just incredible. And because I feel like that's where I personally have connected most with my inner essence, is in these incredible power spots left behind by the ancients. I think that's what I would do. And then of course try to share my experience as much as I can with others, and try to get them to come over here. We're all going to die in 3 days. Let's ascend together. You know, I think that's what I would do. Yeah.
I love it, bro. Do you have any last words? Any last things you want to share?
No, I think I've kind of covered everything I wanted to talk about myself. Yeah, I think I wanted to create the excitement around the Kundalini, because that's the key. It's the passion, the excitement. I wanted to create that because that's what makes you look inwards and look for more information. You know, without the excitement, it's just information, and then it just dies off very quickly. You know, it's not fun. I wanted to create the fun and the excitement behind it.
I think that, you know, the journey and the story has just started. So the best is yet to come, my dear friend. And I look forward to meeting
you. I hope so. I think so too.
Look forward to spending more time, and I look forward to, you know, communicating with everything. So bless your heart, man. Thanks for coming on the show.
You too, Eric, man. I appreciate it so much. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it very much.
It was a real blessing. We'll talk soon.
All right.
Hey everyone, and thank you so much for listening to The Resilient Minds. I hope you enjoyed the show. Please make sure to go comment and like and follow us on iTunes or Spotify, and please make sure that if you really love this, to share this episode, and make sure that you're inviting all your friends to like it as we continue to unfold what the beauty of our minds does. More importantly, how powerful our heart level of intelligence can be when we combine our heart and our brain together. And more importantly, check out the alignment course that I've created. It's seriously there for you to take advantage of at www.ericbalance.com/alignment. See you on the next show.